Hi everybody, recording here from Piedmont Mountainside Hospital down in beautiful Jasper, Georgia. Sorry I couldn't be with you Monday. I hope this video will replace the things I was going to go over, as it actually turned out the module we're in is a very good one for you to be able to proceed by yourself on Wednesday. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, the market entry and expansion were by a pretty significant margin, the best of the assignments so far this semester. Had 3 straight A's, 3 B's. B's were, even the B's had significant content that was very good. I thought, however, Nike Brazil was just a hair above a couple of the others. So congratulations to them. And where they really got the real advantage over everybody else, they had, as most people did, a discussion of the population, a little bit of business etiquette. But they had by far the best, not by far, but by a little bit at least, the best discussion of Hofstede dimensions. And they use those dimensions to play through the rest of the discussion. I'm going to talk briefly, and then I'll talk more again about it when I see you again, about why I'm so insistent on Hofstede dimensions. Sure, you can, do a Google search for customs of whatever country you're talking about, or culture, and you'll get all sorts of anecdotal evidence, stories, whatever you want to call it. But the Hofstede dimensions take a much more scientific approach. All of you, I hope, at some point or another, for example, have done a student evaluation instrument, which is where you rate your classes at the end of the course. And you may or may not know, but those course evaluations are developed around, I don't know, hundreds, maybe even thousands of studies of what makes people learn and what makes people happy, which can be 2 different things. They don't always correlate perfectly, but they tend to run around together. And over many, many years, we've developed an understanding of the dimensions by which variation on student evaluations work. One is organization and clarity. One is timeliness of feedback, availability. So there's 4 or 5, and some people think maybe 6 dimensions that capture almost all the variation in how people respond to course evaluations. And Hofstede's basically done the same thing. He said, yeah, there's a lot of things we can talk about in culture. I'm going to start with those that are most well developed in theory. I'm going to develop questions for them, and then I'm eventually going to put together a set of questions, an entire questionnaire, and I'm going to do some things called data reduction techniques, and I'm going to see really how many dimensions there are out there. So if you noticed, even on his website, he posted I guess the original 4 dimensions, later added a 5th. And just looking at a lot of social science research, it's very, very hard to distinguish anything beyond 5 dimensions. So Hofstede just basically gives some science to the discussion of culture, and that's why I've been so strong in insisting that you use it, and I will continue to do so. Okay, moving on to today's assignment. Luckily, this is probably the richest set of lecture material I have in the course, including a very extensive video. But I want to make some comments here, and I repeated them for you on Wednesday. Although there's a great deal of content available in this module, guess what? You've got to watch the video, and you have to read the content. You're not going to be able to do this assignment, at least do this assignment well, without doing so. And I'm just opening up to make a couple more comments here. And as you'll see when you watch the video, I use a series of, segmentation schema associated with things like age and gender. Instead, I'm going to have you using Hofstede dimensions. And specifically, I want you to, and I've mentioned this before, I want you to go to Hofstede and look in your country for that dimension on which your country varies most from the United States. Then I'll show you in a minute, but you'll be setting up your workbook, something like this. Your segmentation will show how people with high individuality are going to respond to a product offering. And that'll compare it to how people in Guatemala, which is one of the lowest individuality countries, would respond. Wanted to make an addition here. Groups should take roll on Wednesday and report those students who do not attend and do not contribute. Okay, so all of you groups should expect all of your members to be there, just like they always have, and you should expect to complete your assignment. So as we go into the lecture material, the product strategy folder, this particular web sheet here, really walks you through a long series of approaches to product criteria. These are product criteria up here, things in a car like mileage, image, speed, handling, safety, and then talks about
product learning module.
How different target markets respond to those. This is young affluent males and old affluent males who have quite
the product learning module
product offerings. And as I said, when you put yours together, instead of doing things like male and female and young and old, you're going to be using cultural dimensions. So let me back up here if I can. Things have suddenly slowed down on me. I've got a real high ping rate here. My download speed is great, but my ping sometimes takes forever. Okay, so I'm returning, and I'm going to open up as I did last week. This seemed to help. Some of the assignments here. And as I said, instead of, well, this kind of used the USA and used the India. So in this one, the only sort of adjustment you need to make was here in the USA, put down whatever cultural dimension you're going to be talking about. Now they used a whole variety of different they used a couple of different products here. All I'm looking for, and you have many different ways you can do it, all I'm looking for is for you to demonstrate an understanding of how different segments based on culture, so people who have different cultural attitudes respond differently to product, and that leads eventually to things like how you're going to make the product adjustment that's going to be based on the country that you're in. So let's do P&G. You'll notice a couple of things on these assignments. One is, this is one of those assignments that you have to go down to what we call the SKU level. You've got to really look at a kind of a specific product here. So in Procter & Gamble group picked Crest toothpaste and then compared it to generic store brands. It's a good way to do it. So You have your company here, and then you have some sort of competitor there, and you look at how, so this is Greece, but again would add to the Greece a Hofstede dimension, and carry on from there. Now let's see, as we move on down through the assignment, you'll be talking about target markets, you'll be talking about families, and eventually you will get to a product where you talk about how, in this case they specifically did it, how things are different in the United States than they are in this case, Greece. Okay? So again, I want to say one more time, you want a shortcut to exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for your ability to show how you can segment the market by cultural segmentation based on a cultural characteristic of your country, and then show me using product criteria how needs for that product would differ based on that cultural segmentation. Okay? Now, I won't be there with you Wednesday unless something changes. Mom is not improving much, and I may be here for a while. I don't really know. But I will, barring an emergency of some sort, I'll be available by email. I'll also be available by phone call. So let me go ahead and get back to this. And I'm going to add here, though I'd ask you to try email first. We'll go ahead and give you my phone number so you can have somebody put a speakerphone in the middle of your table. Unless I'm on the phone with someone else or a doctor's in the room or something like that, you can try giving me a call. Groups will be able to decide when you're dismissed, when you're done. Do not dismiss groups until your work is done, as always. Otherwise, as you know, some people will jump up and leave 15 seconds into class. So get your work done, decide what you're going to do, split up your material, get in touch with me if you need to, and I hope to see you Monday. I will say also, this is a pretty complex assignment, and as always, I pretty much norm things. I won't compare you to an unrealistic standard. Your grade's going to be depending on the work other people in class do. So on the other side, I expect at least 1 or 2 groups to do this assignment very well. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll upload this video to YouTube, and I'll send you